Joining us today is Alex Augustin, Miami-based entrepreneur, digital strategist, and co-founder of TREMGroup, a real estate business accelerator, redefining how agents grow through technology, marketing, and data-driven systems with over a decade of experience. TREMGroup helps real estate professionals move beyond traditional methods and build scalable, performance-focused businesses. Today, we break down what property sellers should actually look for when hiring an agent in 2026, from global reach and database strategy to accountability, follow-up, and the discipline required to turn opportunities into closed deals. This is Better Decisions.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
So I hope you like that little intro. This is the Better Decisions podcast. We're doing it not in our studio. This is actually the second time we've done a podcast at the studio. I am here today with Alexander, who is the CEO, the head of Trem, which is a digital marketing company here in Miami. But this video is not for the realtors, although if you're a realtor and you're watching this, pay attention because you're going to need to learn a thing or two here. This podcast is our chance to talk to sellers. Why? Because if you're a seller, you need to realize in 2026 your rights as a seller of what you should be looking for to help sell your property. Whoever you hire better come armed with these 5 key skills, tools in their artillery, or you should not be hiring them. And that's why we actually titled this podcast Dumb Ways to Buy. We would have used Dumb Ways to Sell, but it doesn't rhyme. So right. Dumb Ways to Buy, and obviously that's why the
it's 5 dumb ways to buy and sell.
Pretty much. So Alex, let's go into it. Let's give a bit of a backstory, because we're sitting here today and we've known each other and had a relationship for more than a decade.
Yes, up and downs.
Up and downs. And that's like all relationships, you know. It's never static, it's not like that, and I think anybody watching, people have come up to me hundreds of times, and they've come up to you hundreds of times over the years, and they've said to you about working with me. What have they said to you?
Yeah, people is like, I want to do exactly what David Siddons does. I want the same success that David Siddons has. And the first thing I tell them, are you willing to do the same things that David Siddons is doing, right?
Exactly, exactly. So we've done this for a very long time. Your expertise is digital marketing. What I'd love to do is just give a very quick introduction about what Trem is, sum it up, and then we'll go into like these key things that these sellers need to know.
Yeah, so it's very hard to tag a name to TREMGroup, the real estate marketing group, because we have evolved through the time, right? We started as a website company. Then all you guys came up to us and be like, hey, I have a beautiful website, where are my leads?
Yeah.
So we decided over a decade ago to build our own marketing department. And even then, when we were doing the marketing, the lead generation, people didn't really understand how to deal with online leads and how to turn an online lead to a purchase.
Right.
So then we started our coaching programs and all this stuff. So I think we're a mix between a technology and a marketing company, but results focus, right? We hate vanity statistics. We're not the type of company that is going to provide you a beautiful SEO report at the end of the month that has no value. We're not going to tie you to contracts like other companies do. If it's not working for both of us. For us, it's important that the people that trust their business and their money with us actually make it back and grow their business, their brands. So what I like to say, if we can tag it, we're a real estate business accelerator.
Okay. So when listings die, because dumb things happen, as it's dumb ways to die in your listing, what are the fundamentals that you absolutely have to have running to make sure that your listing doesn't die, as in it doesn't sell and you're not successful? Let's go through it one by one, and we were discussing this off camera. One by one, we're going to deconstruct the key things that you have to do or you have to ask for as an owner of your agent when running your business. And these are the things that you have provided to me and worked with me on over the last decade.
Yeah. So first of all, you're going to lease with an agent. right? Most of the time.
Yeah, if you
So your first
if you're
decision is
half intelligent.
right. What agent do I list for?
Yes.
And I think there's several things that you should be looking at when you try to choose the right professional to list your home. That are going to be elemental for the success of selling your listing,
Okay.
right? So first of all, pick the right professional, right? So how do we pick the right professional?
Yeah. How do we do it? What's the first thing you should ask your agent as they walk through the door and they sit down and they go, I'm going to sell your house. And you're going to say, how? And then they're going to give you a whole bunch of reasons. What's the first thing that you want to be aware of?
So I know we have a different order, but now that I think about it, the first thing is like, are you doing anything beyond just listing it on the MLS and waiting for it to be sold,
Okay.
right?
Which is almost like the go-to answer, which then unwraps all of these things, because we know that just sticking it on the MLS and waiting for the phone to ring, in this day and age, you don't need an agent for that.
Right, you can just pay a fee and list it on the MLS.
So what does that then really mean? If it's not just going on the MLS and you're not just taking pictures, what's the first thing that you've got to be aware of in order to sell it?
So does this agent can reach people beyond the MLS, right? The MLS is a tool local, for example, to our country, but especially here in South Florida, we have buyers that are coming from Latin America, Europe, other countries. So by just limiting yourself to listing the property on the MLS, you're pretty much getting off the way over 50% of the traffic that could purchase these.
So
properties.
websites like Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and all those sites, they're fed from the MLS.
Right, and they're popular here.
They're very
on the
popular
US.
here. And most typical websites also have an IDX feed coming in from the MLS into their sites.
Yeah,
But that's not enough.
well, that's a pet peeve for us because as being a real estate website company, a lot of the times we get compared by other website providers, right?
Yeah.
And something that drives me crazy is like, oh, I like the design on this site. And yeah, of course, your website has to be pretty and elegant, but will you buy a Ferrari with a Nissan engine, right? How fast can that car go? So it's important to understand that, okay, first, when you're looking at your website, which is just a piece of your digital infrastructure, right? Your website is not the whole enchilada per se, right?
No, absolutely
There's a lot of other pieces that are important to have a solid digital infrastructure for your business. And just having a website that is pretty, that doesn't have the right conversion technology, that doesn't have all the tools that you need to collect people's information, then it's worthless, right? It's just a digital business card.
So let's break down that website, because as we look at a website, almost every realtor in Miami has a website. And most of them, if I'm going to generalize here, is that they are a very weak version of a real estate portal website like Realtor.com or Zillow. I say very weak because they don't have half the tools that they have. It's just the name of the person, their profile, and then access to some properties in the different neighborhoods, which is what you get from Realtor.com.
Right. So if you want to get a user to use your personal website instead of going to Zillow or any of these other platforms, then you have to be better. And you say, how can I be better of a billion-dollar company that built this billion-dollar website? Well, you got to do what they can't, which is you focus on your market, you provide extremely valuable information per se on the areas of your expertise, you create content, but besides all of that, you have to make sure that everything you're creating and they're coming into the site has the technology to collect their emails and phone numbers.
Okay.
As a salesperson,
Yeah.
you're going to agree. What good is a lead if it doesn't have a phone number?
So-
or what good is a share of a like?
Yeah, you've got to produce a product, a website, a product that's niche, that does something that other websites don't do, which gives them a reason to register, and then a system that then takes those leads and puts them into a database.
Correct.
Right? Sounds very simple in principle, but the question I always have is, how big is your database? How can you prove it? Because this goes hand in hand. Your network is your net worth. Okay, very well-known saying, and never been more true. My database
big
is
database.
massive. My retargeting database
It's
which
even bigger.
is actually near 1 million people. So
Think
nearly
about
a
that.
million people
1 million
are
people
being
get to see.
retargeted to on a daily, weekly basis that's then leading them back into my website.
And by the way, that wasn't made overnight. That's not followers that you purchase just for
No.
the vanity metrics. This is work that is being earned through hard work,
Yeah.
through years of building unique content, reports.
This is it. Yeah, I would say to anybody who's looking to hire someone, if someone's going to use your website, why are they going to use your website? Because if your website isn't better than Realtor or Zillow, why would you use that website? Wouldn't you just go to realtor.com
Right,
or
go to
Zillow?
Zillow.
Makes more sense. So in order for you to become better, Zillow is a national company, so is realtor.com, so is all the other websites out there. Yours has to become more niche. It has to give information and value to the specific areas that you're selling. And the only way to create that is obviously you've got to make it easy to navigate. It's got to have the same efficiencies as Zillow or realtor.com or better. And you've got to add value. Now, you said content. My website, over the years, now in content, we have 2,500 articles on our website, growing. I mean, we're pumping them out on a weekly basis.
Well, that's a good point. Just creating a page for the neighborhood with a description of the schools, that's not real value, right?
No.
That's the minimum necessary.
I could
You want to
probably get that
create
from
real
Miami-Dade.
value. You gotta continuously be relevant to the time
Yeah.
that is happening. You know, so people, I'm gonna create a page for this neighborhood. I'm gonna put a description, some pictures, and all the schools and the restaurants. Well, that's not real value,
Yeah,
right?
because that's not up to date and current. Very quickly, that information becomes out of date. I mean, we move in a very fast moving world and people are looking for current information. If the Wall Street Journal did not change its pages for a week or two, guess what would happen? Phoom,
Right.
it would become irrelevant. The same goes, that's why you have to produce articles. And that sounds easy, but the reality is you need massive frameworks and structure to do that. You need people writing articles because you can't chat GPT, it doesn't work.
And now it's even easier with all the AI tools that we have. You don't even need to write it. You sit in front of a camera, provide your value, and get it transcribed and publish the article.
It's much easier to produce the content, absolutely. You've also got to have the tools and technologies to use that. But then on top of that, you've also got to think about how people are absorbing and digesting information. Our channel, our communication, our ability came up actually from YouTube. You know, our following
Your YouTube
on
has grown tremendously.
We went up to
recently.
75, it might be more actually now, 75,000 subscribers.
We're gonna give a shout out to Steven for that. Okay?
Yeah, Stephen, thank you very much, mate. It's one of the Trem team, so you know who Stephen is.
Our
He's
CMO,
not some mystical guy. This is someone who's actually
a little
helped
bit
us
of a
work
mystical
on
guy,
this.
but it's okay.
It's been instrumental, and of course we've worked this and we've produced the content. We've come up with the ideas of what is it that people want to actually listen to, especially now. We're in 2026, Miami, and obviously this is really targeted for the Miami audience. The main Miami buyers right now are relocating from New York, California, Washington, and they're looking for information. They're looking for long-form educational content as they ask questions. What's the best neighborhood? Where should I live?
What's the neighborhood for?
Where's the
what's
best
the best
schools?
neighborhood for families, for single persons? Like
Exactly.
It just goes so many verticals.
Spreads out.
Yeah, spreads out.
So, and absolutely, and so we produced over 1,100 videos. 1,100 videos, that includes the podcast Better Decisions, which we're on right now. It includes all the neighborhood reviews. It includes all the condo reviews. It includes all the questions that we asked. It includes some of our, what I call our minefield questions. What's the best and the worst of anything? This is information that people who are moving really need to know. And what happens is they go with the people that can give them what they can't get themselves,
Right.
which is knowledge and information. And they trust those who do it systematically.
And it's important to say that ultra luxury people, buyers, they can smell an experience a mile away.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not working towards yourself to become better, to become a tool of more value, it's never going to work regardless. So it's something that you have to put into your journey, into your path, to actually become an expert so you can then provide
Would
the
you
value.
call that authenticity?
Oh,
Part of that
definitely. Definitely
of doing it?
authenticity is a must.
You've encountered, if it doesn't get too personal, some issues with people who want results, but they're not being authentic about their journey.
Yeah, so we go through this on a daily basis. Again, I'm gonna give another shout out to Carlos, right? We all know Carlos, but
He's behind the camera, by the way.
He's doing the editing today. To hold the client's hands to the training and the coaching, because it's very different to get a referral from a friend, right? It's like, hey, call my cousin, he wants to buy a house. That guy is going to answer the phone, and that guy is going to give you a good attitude, because you can refer from the cousin.
No matter what, right? You're getting that business problem.
But when you're dealing with internet people, this is a stranger online. This is a stranger, doesn't know you, especially if you don't have a big digital brand like you do. That's why it's so important to grow on that brand. So when you talk to these people, they know exactly who you're talking with. And I remember when we went through that with your brand, when you had to quit your gym. Remember when you had to quit the gym?
Yeah.
Because people were like, oh, you're the guy that follows me online.
Well, I just moved to another gym.
All right.
That's a good thing.
A more private
There's
gym.
always another gym. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's had a weird kind of experience for me to go through this process. What has been really, I guess as I've matured into the role, what has been really amazing is that there's a level of authenticity that I've put out there in content, and authenticity that I've got back from the consumers, who every week I will get, and please keep these coming, I love these, really lovely emails that come from clients saying, I'm moving in from New York, I've got my wife, my 2 kids, we want to move to a family-friendly neighborhood, we need to be good, close to schools, this is our budget, this is when we're coming into town. I've watched a dozen of your videos,
that was my
will
point.
you please help me? To me, I'm like, how can I say no to that? To me, this is the relationships that I love the most.
And something super important, because some of the people that come to us, a lot of the times they're starting their digital brands, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have that following. And we kind of push them to do videos and stuff like that. And even our technology, we develop a lot of placeholder spaces on the sites so you can actually integrate video and get that recognition, that brand recognition.
Yeah. You've built a space for that content to sit. Now, you're not going to make that content. They have to make that.
No, they have
and that's why, as a seller, you want to make sure that they say, show me your content. Show me what you're doing to add value to the relationship house.
But I think the most important point I wanted to make on that is you work hard towards that. You don't have to burn the phones anymore. You just have to answer them. And that's a big difference when you start your career digitally, where you have to call every lead 100 times.
Well, I could
like,
do that, but I still, and this comes off to the next point, which is I still answer the call. I still make calls. Because you have indoctrinated me into a way of thinking and realizing that you can have a very strong digital website. First point, you can have good content creating inbound traffic. True, all true. And that you've got to make sure you take that out. But once you get the lead through, it's what you do with it that matters. And this is where the rubber meets the road. And you've had this friction to deal with for many years with agents who, discipline eats motivation for breakfast.
Totally agree on that.
And you've got to be really disciplined in this process.
And you know that because you're a black belt in karate.
And you are too. In jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu.
So we'll be fighting after this show. No, there's disciplines that you have to absolutely have in life. And I think in professionalism, in the professional job that we have, one of the things that people struggle with is actually doing the work. And I think once you do it, and you can't fake it. There's no faking this. There's no faking 2,500 articles or 1,100 videos. You couldn't fake
Or 200
that.
calls.
Or 200 calls. Which is the next side, which is, okay, so what you've done is you build the site, but the technology that goes on the back end. Take me to point number 2, because I'm doing a lot of talking right now, and I want you to kind of lead this. Take us through the second most important point that you as a seller need to ask your agent if they can do that, and they have to be able to show you.
Okay, so the first point was, do you have a following and a digital infrastructure to, support you beyond the MLS? What are you doing with your database? Do you have a database? Is your database just dormant? Can you track? You'd be surprised of how many people I have where we help them sell properties over the $5 million mark to leads that were in the database for over 4 years.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because those databases are nurtured. They are continue to engage and nurture your users. And if you don't do that, they'll go with somebody else. I always tell my people, especially who've been doing this for over a year or two, your best lead is not the new lead. Your best leads are sitting on your CRM.
Yeah, which is why your database is so valuable. Because if you have a big database and you can show you have and I'd say to anyone, you want to hire me to list your home or your condo, I will come to your home or condo, I will sit down with you, I will open my laptop, and I will show you the technology that sits behind my website that you and your team created, and I will show you exactly how those leads come in. And usually I can sit through a meeting, and within an hour's meeting, I've had at least half a dozen leads that have come in fresh over that hour. We're getting right now about 4,500 leads a month through our website.
4,500 leads per month. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So you can't call all of those.
No, but what you can do is filter them and recognize the behaviors.
Yeah, which we also have technology for. You notice that some of the leads that arrive on your database, they bring in LinkedIn accounts, profile information. We know who they are. We know if they're if they're a CEO, a CFO of a company. So it's important, we have systems where we can differentiate a simple lead that you don't have more information to a lead that actually definitely needs higher attention, right?
Yeah.
If you get, Elon Musk looking for a house, are you going to treat him the same as johnsmith@gmail.com? Probably not, right?
No, clearly not. But you are going to, again, as those leads come through, this is part of the process, and this is part of the machinery. I'm very fortunate because I have structure around me. And again, maybe part of that point of database is great. It's like having a room full of people. It's like having an auditorium full of a stadium. It's a stadium, because right now my website is generating about 40,000 visitors a month.
And it's unique to you. It's not
And
the
it's
same as
unique.
creating an audience on Meta on Google.
Exactly. This is exactly people who are in my website going through. So I just filled a stadium of 50,000 people. This is a good analogy to use, in fact. So I've got 50,000 people in my stadium, but not everybody is going to be engaged with me, right? I want to get the people up onto the stage that are going to want to react, they're going to want to engage, and they're going to want to take action.
It's funny because I actually have an analogy that I use all the time. Let's say you're selling popcorn in a stadium that has 50,000 people.
Okay.
And you have an hour. There's no way you're going to go through the 50,000 people and offer your popcorn per se. But what if you could go through the microphone and just scream popcorn, and you can count whoever turned their heads and just go directly to them and offer your popcorn, right? So it's something similar with the database, right? Not every 50,000 people are not going to buy
And if you
product.
do it right, using that analogy, you don't have to be having them turn their heads. They will come to you.
Exactly.
And this is one of the most important things, that when you get into the process of having this database, how you then communicate with that database, which is how many emails get sent out, how much engagement gets sent out. This works into the next level, which may be point number 3.
And it has to be segmented.
Exactly. So you have to create segmented campaigns.
So let's say I was generating leads for an ultra luxury condominium, $5 million
Let's use
plus.
an example for a product. So let's say John Smith happens to be a real seller. He was on your website. He comes in and says, I've got a $5 million house that I need to sell. Now, you might have a great website. You may get a lot of people coming through the website. You may have people, but do you have people for my house? And how and what are you going to do within your marketing itself to turn all those heads, or get them to come to the booth to buy the popcorn?
Right.
My popcorn.
So when it comes to the 4,500 leads that you're getting per month, I'm sure some of them are looking for $4,000 or $5,000 rentals.
Mm-hmm. There's probably a few who are just surfing around, yeah.
Right. Will you waste your time offering a $5 million house to those?
No.
Right? And vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important that your database is really segmented. Some things that drive me crazy when I see some agents is they start generating leads from here and there, and they'll generate some leads interested on a luxury product, and the newsletter, the listing of the week is a $500,000 condo.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You're actually going against yourself with that.
Yeah, you're actually sending conflicting messages. So you have to systematically send the correct message to the correct group. Because I don't sell one property a month.
Right.
This.
Tell them how much you sell them.
This year our target's 1 billion, to give
There
you
you
an
go.
idea of scale. And then we just came in, actually our results just came in. We came in as the number 2 company at Douglas Elliman, large team in the country.
Amazing.
And this year we're going to obliterate the numbers that we did last year. A lot of this comes down to the fact that we're very good at segmenting the groups that we have and messaging them correctly.
Again,
right?
relevancy
It's
is
relevancy.
a key element
that
of this
comes back
industry.
to the content creation as well, making sure you do a video that resonates with
Let's
them.
talk about that, which is the next subject.
But when you get into that message that you're going to do, one of the things that you taught me that I thought was very, very powerful was recognizing the key ways, the key phrases and words to draw people in. So, of course, people will look up things like, let's say you have a house in Coconut Grove. Just use that as an example. People will often Google Coconut Grove homes for sale, right? Very common term, right?
You can waste a lot of money
You
with
can
that
waste a
too.
lot of money doing that. People will also Google Coconut Grove real estate report. Less people do that. I do a lot of
More educated buyer. by
more
the way.
educated buyer. Maybe they will search for luxury new construction homes in Coconut Grove. That's even more segmented, and then now you're getting into a realm where you may get some real activity going on. But what you've designed within your sites, which we've done over years, is when you have a particular listing, you create calls to action within the search page, and you create let's call them pop-up boxes, because I don't want to use the business terminology.
Yeah, we
because
call
it
them
confuses
tripwires, boost
Tripwires.
boxes.
It's a technical
yeah.
term, but essentially it's a featuring of that specific property so that anyone looking within that market is going to really see your property. This is something that we've done to great success. But we've done this systematically through many, many ways. And then once we've got someone who wants to sell a home, we've got that listing, we're building campaigns around the audience that we've got. And again, this is when I want to get into that audience segmentation. You've got cold traffic and you've got warm traffic.
And hot traffic.
And hot traffic. And this is the understanding of who your audience is. Who's hungry for the popcorn or who just filled up on hot dogs and doesn't need to eat.
Right. You don't need to spend any marketing on those.
You don't have to spend anything. So what we do is we create that sense of interest, intrigue. We understand where the audience is going to go, and we build those campaigns around those. And you have, again, working very closely with Stephen, we build and spend a lot of money on these campaigns. And I always say, if you're going to hire an agent, ask them to show you their marketing budget for the year. How much money did they spend? I can tell you, we spend somewhere around $2.5 to $3 million a year on marketing, right? How do we do that?
I'm glad you mentioned that
'Cause we
on
make
this podcast because people gotta understand that to make money you need to spend money.
Yes.
Right? There's no magic wands.
Yeah.
There's computers, strategy people, and what we do is very difficult. That's why I don't think you can see the case studies that we have generated from any of our other competitors. I actually put that challenge out there. If there's any competitor from TREMGroup that can get a client to come and say, I receive 4,500 leads per month and sell $1 billion of real estate a year because of my marketing has grown over the 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's get it on. Let's get in the ring.
I think it is important to understand that there are many agents who work in many different ways. And there's some agents who work from the classic handshaking and the networks that they go, and they go to the charity events and they have, socially within a certain group of friends, a certain group of people. But that only goes so far, right? That to me is like bringing a knife to a gunfight, right? You can go out there and you can have all the people at the charity dinners that you go to and all the bars that you meet individuals, but you will never reach the numbers of people that I will reach. In one single day, I'm reaching hundreds of thousands of people every single day. How many people are you
Think about
meeting?
that. It's almost like posting your listing on CNN, Fox News,
Yeah.
right? What is the following of any of these publications? Find
So
out
I
online.
think, and this is why, the expanse of the digital marketing that you do and the campaign building you do, which I guess maybe leads to the next point, which is maybe, what are we on, point number 3 now?
Yeah, what was that?
I think we're
Point number 3
This
was
is point number 3. The point number 3 is the campaign building.
Oh yeah.
This is what we're doing. We're building these campaigns, and you can blow through money. That's why I think sometimes agents get nervous about spending, the kind of money that I spend on my marketing, because they don't know if it's going to work.
Right.
Which is going to
And
lead
a
to
lot
point number 2, which is quantifiability and measurability.
A lot of the times doesn't work because there's a lot of companies out there that are willing to take your money and show you these vanity statistics, and they don't care if you sell or not. All they care is getting their retainer. So a lot of the times when agent comes here and we're like, okay, so what do you want to do? Well, I sell from Fort Lauderdale to Pinecrest.
Yeah.
And maybe I have a $2,000 to $3,000 budget. Well, that's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
You need to niche down. You need to segment correctly. So at the time that you're building your campaigns or you're investing your money, you have to be smart about it. Because if you're dispersing your budget this way, is basically dispersing very thin, right? You have no power. I remember
You've diluted your exposure or expertise in the market.
when
by
we started
doing-
with one neighborhood.
Well, this is the thing. Look, my team now is a big team. It's a huge
Right.
team. By Miami standards, it's one of the biggest, right? So we've got territory managers, we've got a media team, we've got a marketing team, we've got an operations team, we've got assistants, right? And the territory managers have assistants. And people will come in and be like, well, David or other big agents are selling from Palm Beach all the way down to Palmetto Bay. So I should be doing that. Well, guess what? It took me 20 years to do that, right?
Right,
It
and you
doesn't
have
happen
teams that you're
overnight.
doing. It's not like David is driving at 9 a.m. to show up properly in Pinecrest, and then he's at 3 p.m. on West Palm Beach.
It is a syndicate of absolute experts who come together, who are absolute masters. Now I'm actually doing collaborations with other really big agents to take down big deals. It's big game hunting, because now you've got the artillery of other multiple levels of skilled individuals to deliver the result, which is selling an ultra luxury product.
Not only that, when you collaborate and partner like that, you're multiplying the reach, the database, the engagement.
Yeah, we have that with actually several big DE agents that we partner with, and we all have our own respective databases. We're not merging them, but when we are marketing out for that product,
Right.
that unit, that condo, that
Yeah,
home,
you better not merge those databases.
No, we're not. We are all hitting with the same message, with the same branding, with the same product that we're selling, and this comes together. But it's that collaboration of hard work that goes with the segmentation and the realization of what we're doing, rather than just kind of like, well, just throw money at the problem and hope to God that it works.
Right. It
It's
doesn't
very-
work like that. It's
very
almost
mission.
like saying, put a campaign to the website and we hope we collect
Yeah.
the lead.
So this is why I think on the point number 3, to summarize this, if you're going to hire an agent and they're going to sell your home or your condo, have them show you the kind of campaigns that they're going to run. Ask for a 90-day campaign rundown. What's that going to look like? How many digital ads am I going to have? How many YouTube ads am I going to have? How many Instagram shorts and reels are you going to show? How much retargeting are you going to do? What's the reach? What's the strategy of reach? And then coming to point number 4, which is really important, measure the hell out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Quantify this, because just throwing out there, and you have become really masterful at quantifying the performance of campaigns. And we've sat there, part art, part science, where we've said, did this work? I just dropped 20 grand over here.
You
Sometimes
can
it
lose
doesn't
20
work.
grand like this.
Oh,
online.
I could do it in a day if I really
Yes.
wanted to. I was really crazy. I'd
And
drop-
not get a lead.
yeah, not get anything. So, and it also compounds as well. That's the other thing. Like spending money. If you come into the business and you build a website and you say, right, that's it, I built this great website, I'm going to spend $20,000 from month number 1. Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get the same result as you will when you've done this
No.
year 5.
Throwing more money is not always the answer. Actually, we've seen plenty times where you got a campaign that is performing amazing and you're like, double down, and you actually ruin the campaign.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving pieces, but through the experience and the team, we've been able to, I don't know, man, like for example, create and optimize campaigns that generate a lead for $200 per lead because it's an ultra luxury product,
Yeah.
and take them down to under $15.
Yeah.
The same lead, the same campaign,
And
just by
that's because
optimizing
over
correctly.
time, as you run more and you're working more, and you're a Google partner, so as you work through with the campaigns that you're developing, whether it's Meta or Google or anybody else, and you're spending budget, you're starting to get better at it. And that's part of the database thing as well, because it's much cheaper to spend money on retargeting than it is on cold traffic.
Oh yeah, for example, a click online could cost you from $3 to $5 for,
Yeah.
and then a remarketing click would cost you cents.
Which is why, fortunately for me, my $20,000 goes a lot further than his $20,000 because my retargeting database is 1 million people and theirs is 0. So this is why every lead he spends is $3, every lead I spend is a cent.
No, and you mentioned we're Google partners, we're proud of it. If you think about Google, Google is in the business of relevancy.
Mm-hmm.
If people go to Google and they don't find what they want, they're gonna go to Bing, they're gonna go to ChatGPT now, and there's no more Google. So Google will reward you and penalize you, and that's gonna be directly shown out on your ad spend. Depends on how relevant the content that you're showing based on the query of the user. So I see a lot of people, they're just, like other companies or other marketing companies are just trying to get a broad keyword and take them to the homepage, things like that, right? Google's gonna let you give them the money, but every time, that user bounces back, it's a penalty for you. Well, every time a user stays on your site, stays for longer, continuously browsing, continuously using the site, Google's gonna say, oh, this is more relevant. My clients, which is the people searching, like this content. So now what I'm gonna do is
not just Google, YouTube is massive. This is
well,
massive on
YouTube is part of Google, right?
I'm sorry, that's true. That's exactly.
So
yes,
basically, what they're gonna do is they're gonna maybe put you in position number 1 for cents compared. So you may be paying $1 per click on position 1, and this guy is paying $5 on position 3.
Which is why now, after 20 years and 1,100 videos, when I post a video, immediately I'm getting traction.
Right, because you're relevant. Google, YouTube appreciates that, so they want to show your content prior to other content that might not be as relevant.
Which is why when it still boggles my mind when I see someone go for a listing, I see an owner says to me, I hired this agent and the property didn't sell. And I'm like, let me look at their digital footprint and see what they're doing. No YouTube followers, very little Instagram followers. Again, Instagram can trick you, so that's kind of it's not exactly the most accurate way of telling. And no presence on Google.
A lot of people buy their Instagram followers, which drives me crazy.
That is another
They destroy
thing.
their brand please don't buy Instagram followers.
I would actually, I'm like, the fifth point that I want to raise, we've gone through the legitimate stuff of like what you've got to do. What I want to do on the fifth point is flip the narrative a little bit and bring about the awareness, the warnings, this is the landmine statement. Where are the landmines when people get misdirected through clever marketing conversation where someone's very slick and very convincing, but there's, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it directly, bullshit in their conversation. Where's the bullshit?
Man, I've seen many times people, oh yeah, I have 1 million Instagram followers, but they have 10 likes on their postings.
Okay.
So that means that they're mostly bots, purchases. And the problem is that they think they're doing a favor to their brand because, my buyer or my seller might come and come and see my Instagram account and they're gonna see I have 1 million followers. But in the technical side, which you're very familiar with, you cannot undo that. So now, there's systems like lookalikes, audiences built. Now you're building lookalikes on bots.
Yeah.
So you're basically destroying the way that you're going to create your real
And
buyers.
eventually the whole thing will collapse.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's
bullshit.
bullshit.
That's one of the bullshits. I'm going to give you one of the bullshits that I see, which is when I see people come in and they are posting content even through YouTube. And I did a podcast a few weeks ago with a good buddy of mine, Drew, who runs a studio called The Move. And The Move has some really big names come through the doors. It's probably the most successful podcast studio in Miami today. He's had Theo Vaughn on, he's had Shaquille O'Neal, he's had Jonas Brothers, he's had like David Beckham,
Siddons.
he's had David Siddons. He's had like some legitimately big people. I'm not in that list. But
in your industry, you are.
In my industry, I have some notoriety. Thank you. What he told me was that he said there was a period of time where people would come in and they would shoot podcast videos to no one. There was no you sitting in the seat.
That's very popular.
It was them talking to the camera and they would just be giving strap lines.
And they look like they're talking to somebody else.
And there would be a lot of what I call just clickbait comments that were designed just hooks that really meant nothing, hooks that sounded great but didn't actually do anything. And then when you actually look behind it, you look behind the learning process or the knowledge of that individual, you realize there isn't any.
Yeah.
That's another form of bullshit.
So if we dissect this subject a little bit, we're talking about content creation, right? And it's a very broad term, right?
Yeah.
Everything is.
Yes, it is.
The moment you turn on your camera, that's considered content, right?
Yeah.
And something that drives me crazy is, for example, people thinking that creating content means we're gonna do this viral dance on TikTok, right? And things of that nature. Yeah, it's fine. Maybe you can do that once in a while, but the real content and what's gonna move the needle is content that is valuable to your audience.
Yeah.
If you're not providing value, you're providing entertainment.
You
So
said
are
it
you a
really
business person?
well.
Are you a salesperson
Yeah.
who want to sell, or you an entertainer?
You said, are you entertaining or are you educating?
Right.
And that's what you said to me earlier. And someone has said to me before, would you do this particular type of show? And I said, well, I'm more Bloomberg than Bravo, so no.
Right.
And I think that when you really study the market, you really know it. And this is why I put a lot of energy into my reports and my data and the analytics that you've helped me build, by the way.
Yeah.
Several of my analytical models, you've actually been, and I've sat with.
That wasn't easy. I
It
just want to
wasn't
say.
actually. One of his team, who's great, by the way, Tino. Love you,
Tino,
man.
yeah, let's do a shout out to Tino,
I've
my
made
partner.
Tino gray beyond
Married,
his years.
daytime married to Tino for I don't know how long, 17 years.
Yeah. And this is someone who we wanted to build the neighborhood analytics page where you can actually go on and see the data from the last quarter. You can see the dollar per square foot. You can see the days on the market.
Yeah, you can see he makes my life easy, right?
Yeah. I'm an easy client. What are you
Easy,
talking
it's
about?
easy.
And this is the kind of thing, the kind of tool that keeps people legitimately coming back to your website because it does add value. And it's not, and you can't fake it. You can't fake this kind of work. This is like down in the trenches, long hours, editing, going over to videos, changing them, improving them, in the same way that, you can't fake a podcast. If you've done a podcast now, this is like, we're into the 80th episode, right? You can fake it 2 or 3 times. You're not going to fake it 80 times.
No.
And I think this is when you can recognize if someone is going
Authenticity,
to...
back to authenticity.
Authenticity, discipline, and is going to do the work. Because if they have the tools, that's one thing. Actually using the tools is a whole other bag.
Oh my God. And that's probably one of the most painful subjects for us, right? We were talking about that earlier, how sometimes we perform similar technology, similar strategy, and we got people like you selling $1 billion, and then we have people going through 6 months selling nothing. And every time we go and dissect the problem, they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
And at those times, we offer, we're either gonna help you, coach you, or please don't do this anymore. I actually let go a client of us 2 weeks ago. I told you the story. He wasn't following up on the people he was meeting. So if you meet somebody, you show them a house, and you never call them back, it's your job to perform the sale. It's not their job to chase you around.
It's not uncommon for a house, if you're a selling agent, to show a house to someone, do a really good job showing, and they will circle back because sometimes they just lack the education. And they need someone who's educated to show them. So that you go off, you show them a house, then you show them 3 or 4 other homes, you stay in touch with them. And then they realize that
Please
was the
stay in
best house.
touch.
Yeah. and that requires a lot of hard work and effort.
And discipline.
And you can't fake it.
No.
And I think that this is one of the challenges that you have, because for all these great tools that we've been through today, and as a seller, I hope you realize that you need all of these incredible tools. You need the website. Let's go through it again. To finish off, you need the website, right? You need the tracking. You need the database.
You need the following, the
campaigns,
authentic following.
the follow-up. But all of this doesn't work unless you're going to get off your ass and do the job.
If they don't have you, there's nothing. There's only so much technology, strategy our team is going to be doing, but we're not selling the homes for you.
Yeah.
You got to sell them.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to put in the hard work, call your leads, follow up with your leads. We had the example of joining a gym and never showing up.
Yeah.
You're not going to get fit,
Or doing the same thing over and over again, thinking everything is going to be the same, because change is a certainty. And even within the market, even during a period when you list a property, one of the things that happens, which I think is why most people end up losing a listing, is because they don't stay in good communication with the seller. They don't tell them what's going on. And when the market pivots or changes, because circumstances change in all systems, they don't have the confidence to tell them, hey, something's changed, we need to pivot and we need to change our strategy here, either by price or by how you're marketing or whatever you're doing.
Well, I think we are blessed because of our generation. And I always say that, maybe Carlos a little younger than us. But we are the adaptation generation. I started listening music on cassette players or even discs. Then we went to MP3s.
Yeah.
Then we went to digital. The same with everything. So I think something that maybe easier for our generation.
We're adaptive. We're also incredibly resilient because if you're a kid and you're born
Oh,
in the
yeah.
70s and you survive through the 80s,
Oh, yeah.
you're pretty stoic.
Yeah,
You're pretty hard to kill.
Yeah.
I think this has been great. I really hope that you watching this, whether you're an agent or you're actually a seller, that this brings a lot of value, that this gives you the checklist that you need. I'm going to do a shameless call to action here because
And if you're an agent,
if you're an agent, you know what you need to do now. You also need to know who you need to be responsible for in the process. But call to action, if you like this video, if you're a seller, pick up the phone, give me a call. I will sit down with you and I will show you my entire marketing deck, everything that I do, all my strategies, my platform that was helped constructed with this gentleman and this incredible company. Nothing comes for free. It takes a lot of hard work. Do not be dumb and let your listing die. It's dumb ways to die. That's not gonna be the case here.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Alex, thank you so much.
thank you, senor. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this and stay tuned soon for another Better Decisions podcast.